if your dishwasher is leaking, depending on either it could be through the door or coming out from the bottom or anywhere else that you might have
Yeah.
seen that's common, what would your sort of
Yeah.
go-to method be there?
Definitely, like you said, it could be coming from the door or or seeping out from the bottom. So you definitely want to verify where it's coming from because it's going to make a huge difference on what you're checking and the potential
Hmm.
issue. Most of the time, you'll notice that it's dripping from the door, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's not as bad. But in almost every case where it's dripping from the door, it's because the door seal that goes around all the way around the front of your tub that the door shuts on, it could be worn out. It could be torn. It could have a lot of that buildup on it that's never been cleaned off, so it doesn't have a really good seal. So if it looks like any of those things, the seal literally just pulls out. There's nothing to it. A brand new seal online, anywhere from $10 to $20. So definitely, even if you're not sure, it may be good to just try that. Especially you do Amazon Prime or something, it's here in 2 days. Might as well give it a shot. The other reason it could be dripping from the door is if you've recently, say you moved your dishwasher around for anything and you put it back in, you want to make sure that the dishwasher is not leaning forward too much. In a dishwasher, the tub that holds the water and everything in it, well, the lip on the tub comes up maybe half an inch, and so it doesn't take a lot, especially if it's leaning forward, as that water's moving inside for it to drip over the edge. A good rule of thumb with that is when you look at the sides of your dishwasher, where they're at in the cabinet, you'll be able to tell kind of which ways the dishwasher's leaning compared to kind of the wood beside it where it's mounted. So you want the dishwasher leaning back just a little bit is fine, but not leaning forward. And those are really the main things that cause it to drip. One really random thing that can cause it to drip out the front is if your lower spray arm is damaged or cracked, because it's typically two pieces of plastic in the factory that they kind of put together. And so if it starts to separate in the middle, instead of the water being forced top, through all the holes, it's going to be forced straight out, and it's going to hit the door and it's going to leak out. And so take a real close look at your lower spray arm too. Those are the main causes for the door
Yeah,
drip.
definitely interesting. And could that be related as well to just going back to the hard water? If the spray arm is starting to clog, then I guess the water could be going any which way.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Nice one.
definitely.
What would you think for if it's coming from the bottom and not the door?
So probably 75% of the time, if it's seeping out from the bottom, the actuator that we've talked a little bit about, because it's a motor that's powered, there is a stem that comes up through the sump, which is what holds the water, and then it connects to an assembly that moves. So as it goes through the sump, there's a little tiny itty bitty seal that's almost similar to the seals that are on like a faucet. If that gets worn out over time, it can develop a leak, and sometimes that leak could turn into quite a bit of a leak where it's going to come out. So most often that's the reason that it's doing that. Again, you want to call somebody because that's kind of a pain in the butt repair. The other thing that could be causing it, and this is mostly in Frigidaire and GE dishwashers, the seal on the motor can actually leak, especially if it's an older GE or an older Frigidaire. Again, in that situation, you probably want to call somebody. But unfortunately, most of the time when it's seeping out from underneath, it is more of a major issue. If you can access the control panel and remove it and look under there, sometimes though it is as simple as where your household water line hooks to your water valve, it's leaking from there. So that may be as simple as turn the water off underneath your sink, unscrew it, the water line, clean it up a little bit, maybe with a wire brush, put some new plumber's tape on there, and then connect it back. That may stop your leak. So definitely look under there and see if there's anything
Yeah,
obvious.
right, gotcha. Super interesting. So it does seem that any door leaks are more kind of minor and just a little hassle, whereas leaking from the bottom could be a very tricky seal to get to. Also good to be aware that both are, not impacting the actual dishwasher's performance. It's just sort of, causing a mess every time you turn it on. So it's only, if you can put up with it, then, with some towels and stuff, it can, I guess, wait a while. There's no rush to replace it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and underneath, you want to see, because I've seen some cases where it's leaked for a year, 3 years, but it's never been bad enough to where it's actually come out from
Yeah.
underneath. So by the time that people do notice it, especially if they have wood floors, it's like major floor
Yeah,
damage.
you might
So
almost, I guess, smell the floor damage before the leak, or before you see the water coming
right.
out.
Yeah, and if you ever notice any tiles or if you have wood flooring, if you ever notice that it kind of starts to seem like there's any raised
Hmm.
spots anywhere near the dishwasher, that could be an indication you're having some water leakage there. So not a bad idea to check under the sink, check under the dishwasher, make sure you don't have any water
Yeah,
leaks.
yeah, really good to know.